best of small-town Nebraska. The fun, the food, the families, you can find them at the fair. Straight ahead, we'll also visit the Angus Jr Nationals and how Grand Island has made a name for itself in the livestock world. Plus, how drought is affecting cattle feed. Later, a tragic reminder of the need for safety handling grain. And our county fair adventures bring us to Franklin County. It's time to grow. We start with a tragic story out of Grand Island where a man is dead following a grain bin accident. His family telling us they don't want others to experience this heartache as they emphasize the importance of safety. The Hall County Sheriff says Dale Bachman died after he was trapped in a grain bin. According to the Sheriff's Office, deputies responded to a farm on North Road, south of Grand Island, around 10:45 Thursday morning for a report of a man trapped in a bin. And it was there they found Bachman. Unfortunately, Ellen Dyson says it's not uncommon.
We see it quite often. And last year, there was actually, in 2022, there was about a 45% increase over 2021 in entrapments. Not all of those entrapments lead to death, but about half of them do.
According to Nebraska Extension, it takes just 10 seconds to become entrapped in grain up to the waist while working in a bin, and up to 25 seconds to become completely submerged. Poor grain conditions often cause this. Dyson would tell us the best way to prevent this is having a spotter, wearing a harness, and having proper training. Later on Grow, more safety tips, plus a new report just out documents a rise in grain entrapments. While some get rain, others experiencing drought. Chanel McCarthy has more on how it's affecting cattle producers.
The effects of the drought in Nebraska is a trickling cataclysm. Its impact first touching farmers and now cattle in the state. Ranchers are pleading for help, but they say this is a problem only nature can solve. Because of the lack of rain, there's not much in pastures or hayfields, and cornfields are suffering, with some farmers doubting they'll have much to harvest this fall. All of that ringing true here at Weber Feed Yards, where a shortage in crops at farms means a shortage in feed for cattle.
The hope is the end is in sight, but right now we need a lot of help. But help, I'm talking Mother Nature. I mean, it's got to rain. That's the bottom line. And until it does, things won't be calmed down.
Joel Weber owns and runs the feed yard, and like many in the agricultural industry, it was passed down from his father and his father before him, going back to his great-grandfather, who Weber says started it all. He hopes to pass it down to his son, who will be the 5th generation of Webers in the business. Weber says in all his years in the profession, conditions are the worst he's ever seen.
In my lifetime of operating this business, we haven't seen anything like this, where it's just almost impossible to meet our roughage needs. We are a corn and soybean producing farm and feed yard, and we grow a lot of what we need to feed cattle, but we don't produce that much roughage.
With the need for water at an all-time high, Weber says outsourcing for feed, or roughage, doesn't come at a small price.
Procuring good quality hay has been a challenge, and just sourcing it and then trying to come together with a price with the owner of it is certainly a challenge, and it's definitely hurting our bottom line and making our entire world cost more.
Which in return can make the lives of consumers cost more. On the opposite end of the counter, Weber says rising costs for farmers and ranchers means rising costs for consumers.
Well, it'll trickle down, and as feed costs go up, a lot of things trickle down. We've seen inflation, we've seen rising prices on every single input that we use, including feed. You're seeing meat high in the stores. You're seeing everything be high right now across the entire economy.
Right now, he and others in the field say it would take substantial and continuous rain in order to save crops and halt the relentless cycle that comes with drought.
Angus is back. The barn's built for the Nebraska State Fair, hosting one of the biggest names in the cattle industry. Zap, wham, boom. Grand Island's superpower? Being one of the only cities in the country that can host events like this. 1,800 cattle from 37 states. There are only a handful of venues that can host the Angus Jr Nationals. And Grand Island may be at the top of the list.
It's one of the best facilities we have. It's air conditioned, it's easy to get to, it's a central part of the country, and we'll keep coming back here as long as Grand Island will have us.
It's the 4th straight week Fauner Park has hosted a national event.
That's why these facilities were built, and it's an honor and a privilege to see that they are getting used.
The community has begun conversations about possibly adding on to these facilities.
So you need a little time to do that. If you have a relief valve of additional facilities, you're able to keep those going. And we've seen several times where we've had to pull overnight craziness in order to get set for the next one, which we're willing to certainly do. But when you have that relief valve of facilities, you might go from a horse show to a cattle show to a goat show a lot easier.
Local leaders say they face new competition from big league cities like Denver and Kansas City and feel fortunate many livestock shows have Grand Island on the calendar for years to come.
They want to rotate with us every 2 to 3 years. They said by far this is probably the best, if not the top 2 facilities in the country.
June and July are easy to fill. Now they're working to bring in spring and fall events like a dog show next year. The tourism director says Grand Island is event-driven, and shows like this bring in good money. A recent study finds Husker Harvest Days alone has a $9 million impact.
Those are dollars that come from other places and find their way into our town.
More barns could allow Fauner Park to host multiple shows at the same time or overlap dates. Or for a show this big, allow the Angus Association to keep coming back.
And so you can never take it for granted. You always have to work so closely with these organizations to make sure that we're providing the things that they need on into the future.
The majority in a water users group says they are opposed to the merger of 2 public power districts. That's the word from Central District Water Users, who says a survey of their members revealed 93% are against the joining of Central Nebraska Public Power and Irrigation District with Dawson Public Power District. They say 86% of respondents were in favor of a public meeting before the revote. 14% said the meeting wasn't necessary. The group's president says there has not been enough transparency. However, the 2 public power districts see it differently. Governor Jim Pillen touring the state, introducing the newest members of his team, all with ties to Central Nebraska and a focus on agriculture. Governor Jim Pillen works the crowd with a smile.
Being the 41st governor is just absolutely an extraordinary privilege.
As he learned this year, it's not easy working with 49 lawmakers, some of whom filibustered for days on end over issues like abortion. Plus, the infusion of federal COVID funds won't last forever.
We could take that money and do 2 things. Invest in our kids, because we all agree our kids are our future and we never give up on kids, and that we can change tax policy.
Tax policy is a touchy subject in a community where many were just notified the county has raised the valuation on their home. County commissioners want a special session, but Pillen says give it time.
And it is urgent, and we are going to get it fixed. But we've got to come through and take enough time so we can hear everybody out and have something that's going to be the right fit for Nebraska.
Joining the governor's team are 4 people with Central Nebraska ties. The new directors of aeronautics and broadband are both Grand Island natives.
I get a little emotional about this, but when anybody asks me, where do you call home? I've always said Nebraska.
First week on the job, the new economic development director says the state must build value through agriculture.
The ag industry and making value-added ag really a high priority is absolutely on our agenda.
The governor, a hog farmer and veterinarian, echoed that, saying a new fertilizer plant in Gothenburg nearly doubles the tax base in the community. As he says, he'll continue to focus on improving the state's tax climate while funding schools and building agriculture. And while his cabinet has carried over some of the Ricketts team, he's also building his own administration.
Goal's been to be able to build our team with people that have great experience in business, have a pure public heart servant, and want to treat government, believe that government can get out of our hair and be way more efficient. So
If you've been following along, yes, I too am growing some corn this year, and you may have wondered, what's this guy know? Will it even be knee-high by the 4th of July? Well, indeed it is, and seems to be doing okay. I'm growing corn as part of UNL's contest that takes place at the West Central Extension and Research Center in North Platte. It's an interactive, real-world farm management competition. I'm making many of the same decisions any corn grower would make. I picked out my hybrid, in our case one from Fontenelle, population 33,500. We're trying to hit 200 bushels and do it with less nitrogen. We've got some fun tools to play with. There's access to aerial data, plus we've got a CropX sensor on our corn. It tells us the soil moisture status with an easy-to-read interface, plus weather data. Soil water is nearing the full point. It suggested we do not need to irrigate at this time because it can cause plant damage and won't be cost efficient. That CropX sensor telling us an additional irrigation this time could add input costs and have negative agronomic benefits. We also have the ability to fertigate and did put a little on through the pivot a couple of weeks ago. Stay tuned, we're going to have a closer look in future weeks. Franklin County celebrates 150 years of the county fair. We'll have much more later. Up next, more on green bin safety.
This portion of NTV's Grow is sponsored by Acres Equipment, solutions for every field. Acres has what you need to get the job done.
Back to that tragic situation, a farmer found dead after a grain bin accident. We reached out to experts at the University of Nebraska Medical Center with some advice for farmers.
The main reason that folks are going in their bins is because of out-of-condition corn. So keeping that corn in good condition, putting it up dry, and understanding what makes for good conditioned corn is going to make a difference, but also understanding the dangers and great management practices. So if you have employees, ensuring that they are trained. We would like to never again see anyone go into a bin, but if it is essential, we know that the training is a must, and including permitting to go into those bins, and with lockout, tagout, having someone who is there as a spotter, harnesses that have been trained on and fit for people with tie-offs and lifelines. So it's pretty complicated to do it right.
Take a look at this video from a lightning strike in Polk County. The Shelby fire chief says 6 people were transported to an Osceola hospital after the lightning strike at a construction site in Shelby. He says the McPherson Concrete employees suffered non-life-threatening injuries. The chief says it happened at the East Central Valley Ag elevator, where a new elevator is being built. For 150 years, the county fair has brought people together in Franklin County. Coming up, meet some of those families and why they're involved.
NTV's Grow Weather is sponsored by Acres Equipment, solutions for every field. Acres has what you need to get the job done.
Unfortunately, the worst drought in the country is in Nebraska and Kansas, especially Kansas, where the drought has actually increased this week compared to last week. 1.77% of Kansas, kind of that west border, is drought-free. Otherwise, 98.25% abnormally dry. Moderate drought in Kansas, 87%, severe, 62.5%, and the extreme has ramped up to 39.25% this week, exceptional 7.59%. Actually gaining on the drought, a little bit of an improvement in the Cornhusker State this week with 18.25% no drought. All in the Panhandle, northwest Nebraska, 81.75% abnormally dry, moderate drought in Nebraska, 72.5%, severe drought 48.5%. The extreme down to 25.5%. Exceptional down to 11.5%. So hopefully the rain just keeps on rolling in. It continues to make its presence known in the forecast. In fact, there are areas of the Panhandle, as we saw, drought-free. Some of that had some flooding issues with the rain they did receive. Temperatures in July above normal for most of Nebraska and Kansas. Normal temperatures for the northwest corner. Of course, a lot of time yet to go in the month before it heats back up again. July precip above normal, kind of the northern northeast portion of Nebraska. Otherwise, normal rainfall for the state, both Kansas and Nebraska. July, August, September, temperature-wise, normal for most but the southeast corner of Nebraska, above normal for all but kind of that northern, north central, northwest corner of Kansas. Then above normal for the 3-month outlook for all of Nebraska, Kansas, except a little sliver in the southwest corner of the Panhandle and the western portion of Kansas. So that is a good outlook. Hopefully we can get rid of that red in that drought monitor across our part of the country. 20%, that's the chance for showers and storms tomorrow night. A warmer day as we head closer to 90 on Tuesday. Then the downhill slide, ending up with 80 on Friday. Overnight lows a little bit below normal. The average should be around 88. The average low 65. We're going to average a high this week around 85. 61 will be our average low. So not terribly far off track. Here's our proverb. July, God send thee calm and fair, that happy harvest we may see, with quiet time and healthsome air, and man to God may thankful be. Kind of a prayerish proverb, if you will. That is your Grow Report for this week. Join us again next time when, once again, it will be time to grow.
Whether you're side dressing a little nitrogen, working with cattle, or whatever you're doing this time of year, we want to see your pictures. Go to our website, nebraska.tv, and chime in. NTV's Grow brings you the biggest stories in agriculture together in one place, all to help you and your farm grow.
Sunday nights at 10:35.
A time-tested way to teach the next generation. Franklin County celebrates 150 years of the county fair. Get a front row seat because it's time to shine
are born
with the biggest event of the summer. But not every family takes the same path to the county fair. Eric Sint raises cattle.
I farm here with my dad on the Republican River. And
this experience is new for his kids and his wife.
There's a lot that goes into it.
While the Petermans are old pros at county fair.
No, there's lots of paperwork that goes in months ahead of time and getting the tags on all the animals.
But Chris works at a tire shop.
So you don't farm then? No, we do not farm.
In both families, one parent grew up with 4-H, but the other didn't. Now both families see something unique about the opportunities the county fair creates for kids.
It develops hard work ethics that they have going into it. We're kind of a family with 4-H, and it's nice to see everybody here.
Projects at the Franklin County Fair go beyond the livestock arena to traditional areas like baking and sewing, but also contests where kids use drones or learn to be smart shoppers. The possibilities almost endless.
Clothing and woodworking.
Hogs and sheep.
Clothing, woodworking, hogs, and sheep. Barn quilt, A shirt.
Whether like the Petermans, who've been spending summers at the fair for the last decade, or the Sints getting their start, families say it pushes kids like Ashton out of her comfort zone and off her screen.
Everybody's on a phone or iPad, and it just gets them outside and shows them what hard work's all about. We're really proud of Ashton and all the hard work she put in each and every day getting to this point.
Our county fair adventures are just getting started. If you have other fairs you think we should go to and people we should visit, let us know. Drop us a note on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or whatever the newest platform is, and you just might see us there in the future. And we'll see you there as we see how agriculture makes Nebraska grow.
NTV's Grow is brought to you by Aurora Cooperative. Tougher together, Aurora and you.